Welcome to the Raj Smriti Show. This is a special series on International Women's Day celebrated on 8th March. Today we have with us Dr. Kavita Pathak, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And
Pleasure being here.
it's always a pleasure talking to women who are in leadership positions. We find very few women heading organizations, and you're one of them, like a role model, like an inspiration to all young girls out there. So, to begin with, we would like to know your journey, coming this far, how easy, how difficult it was, what was your childhood? Did you see the dream of, heading an organization? What was your, childhood experiences that led you this far?
So, thank you so much. I think we had a normal childhood, normal in the sense that all of us, probably of our generation, would have grown up in a Lucknow that was socially agile, but gender wise restrictive.
Okay.
It would want to create boundaries for what you can do or not do as a lady. But I thankfully had a father who understood that the calling of the gender is not limited to only the male form. I wanted to do things in my life which was supported by my father and thereafter by my mother. So I went on after my graduation from IT college. I went on to do my MBA from Lucknow University. Appeared for my JRF, UGC JRF examination, qualified that, started teaching at LU. And while at Lucknow University, my the poet within me, the philosopher within me, found a lot of companions in the environment, and those relationships are still on. And so, various forums where I could develop my philosophical, mental, and emotional worldview. And so, from there on, started teaching. And 95 Jaipuria Lucknow happened, and it's a place where you can grow, allows you to have wings, supports you. So through my journey, I twice went away from Jaipuria Lucknow. Once we went to Calgary in Canada for a short period, and where my husband was doing his PhD. And the second time we went to Brisbane, QLD, Australia. We were there for 5 years. I started pursuing my second PhD there, and also taught at the UQ Business School, and came back. So as soon as I came back, I was back as a professor in the system, then became Dean of Student Affairs, then became Dean of Academics, then became Dean for Learning for all the 4 campuses. And in June 2017, the management said there's a opening in Noida and we want you to take over as director. So since then, the leadership journey has gone in a different direction.
You chose marketing as your study, and again, marketing is a field dominated by men. We see women now entering that field. I mean, women are there everywhere now, but we don't see in that number. Was it a conscious decision to choose marketing? How did that happen?
Okay, so one, there were 2 or 3 qualifying conditions there. One, in MBA, you're supposed to choose a thrust.
Yeah.
So marketing was my major thrust. 2, even when you're writing your JRF examination, you're supposed to pick up a thrust. So marketing was my thrust there as well. And thirdly, when you start doing your PhD, which I started at LU, once again you have to choose a thrust. So that happened to be marketing. So marketing happened by a combination of default and design, but it's a domain I totally love, and it's been very, very interesting being a learner of marketing.
It's been over 30 years of experience, I would say. We talk about
Cumulative,
Jaipuria,
yes.
Jaipuria. So, did you have to go through, breaking the glass ceiling, the gender disparity, the pay differences, and all of that in your career span?
Look, academics have got a blessing. The blessing is that pay scales are not negotiated, they're pre-specified, right? So when you are at academic level, great, you expect the same pay as any man around. So those pay disparities are, I would say, non-existent
Not there.
so far as academics are concerned. So far as glass ceiling is concerned, I've always believed that when the goal in front of you is very, very clear, if you carry your gender as a baggage on your shoulders, it disrupts you big time.
True.
Gender neither limits you nor it enables you. Gender is what you're born with.
Right.
So we should neither make it our wings nor should we make it as a limiting factor. We do what we do with our gender, not despite it or not because of it.
Very true. Rightly pointed out. When we talk about women empowerment, the word I would say has been overused, abused also at times. And at this point of time, wherein, as you said, that there's no gender barrier, you can become anything, anyone, anywhere. And with the social media at its boom today, everyone is an actor, singer, dancer. You have it in you, you can just showcase your skills right there. And if the audience loves you, you are there. You can make a name and fame for yourself. So, how would you see women empowerment? How would you define it in the given scenario?
Look, I mean, if I were to count myself, I would be among the 1% of educated women who had a very supportive family in India. Let's look at the grassroots. Let's look at the rural landscape where education of the girl child is directly correlated with the economic benefit to the family.
Right.
And the right of women in assets of the family, in growth of the family, there's a lot of work remaining to be done. We use the term empowerment precisely because where that girl child is at the moment, she doesn't feel empowered by the family, by the routines, by the ground realities to fly. So, and the family doesn't see the value why that money and resource should be parked at someone who will be leaving the family and enhancing somebody else's bloodline. So, though there's a lot of change, but we'll be closing our eyes, shutting our eyes to reality if we think that woman empowerment is a pedantic construct which we don't need to talk about. There's a lot of talk remaining, and now is the right time. And people like you and me must engage more rather than less on a discussion of women empowerment.
You rightly said that it's only 1% of us who have been supported by families and the society, but we still have our own challenges as well. It's not that we have not faced those challenges. Maybe in an interview, you being asked, when are you getting married, or, what if you get married, if you have kids. So, you get these questions still, even though it's against the HR norms and policies, but in an interview, these things are asked, and 1% are empowered. And when we see these statistics, when it comes to politics or when it comes to any given field, there are women there, but I think representation of women is still we can count them on our fingers, as you can say. You had an organization wherein you meet students, both boys and girls, and you are blessed to, guide them, mentor them. What is the feel of youth today, What is it that they want? How are they seeing the world? What is their idea of the ideal world or the perfect world we all want to live in?
See, youth today is no different from youth at any time.
Okay.
Youth has got a gift of being discerning, and they evaluate you for your merit. If they see merit in the argument you're putting across, they give you respect. The only difference in last 2 generations in Indian youth has been they are not respectful just because you tell them to.
Yeah,
they choose. They decide if they wish to give you the respect that you deserve. 2, this generation of youngsters have a lot of information, access to a lot of things, but at times I find that they are struggling to find a ground. They're struggling to form their own worldview, which was easier in an organic process when we were growing up. Information was limited. There were very few role models around. You talked to people and developed and processed life through the interactions you had with people. These youngsters are processing life through a lot of content on social media, on the internet, looking at the lives of others. So, how they are shaping as individuals, it's a very different process compared to how people a generation ago shaped. They're honest, they're forthright, but they could use a little more grit and moral courage to take stands that they must take.
Very true. So, we talked about women empowerment. What are the steps we should now take as a society, as an organization, or at the government level to empower those 99% of women who are still struggling, be it rural, be it urban, be it of the lower class or the upper class? I think that challenge is there everywhere. As you said, that, we have to wait, we have to get that support to do something. We don't find that environment. So, what few things we should, as an individual, as a entity, try to enable?
It's a very, very knotted question, very layered. It's not something unidimensional in nature that I can tell you, do X and the situation will flip. No, the entire scenario right now is that property rights still elude women,
Right.
that share in land or land ownership among women, especially in the agricultural communities, is pathetic. We have made women as pradhans in villages, but what is the scene?
The husbands
That
are
we have the
ruling it.
pradhan patis who are running the administration.
Very true.
I think a very long and arduous journey awaits women, where women should get comfortable about standing alone. And that is the pain that not a lot of women are willing to undergo.
Right.
Standing for themselves, standing alone. Right now, the scene is either you lose your brothers or you lose your share in your father's property.
True. Very true.
They play emotional, and obviously, you with the signature relinquish any rights that you have on parental property, which means that in the years to come, the chasm between financial power of men and women is going to further widen.
Very true.
Unless we do something radical in education, in vocational training, in ground level education of girl child, we need to bring more and more and more all kinds of women in vocational pool, in educational pool, and the self-help groups that work for many a things should be there for one another. I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
Madhvi Kukreja runs an NGO in Bundelkhand, Vanangana.
Yeah.
And Vanangana is a pool of about 2,000-3,000 women there. Bundelkhand's major problem is water. Groundwater runs very deep.
Yeah.
Vanangana has trained, they tell me, thousands of young women, estranged, unmarried, married with family, as you know what? The hand pump mechanics.
Interesting.
And in a society where the excess of water is only through hand pumps, when the hand pump goes, it goes dysfunctional, the water line and the lifeline dries up.
Right. Very true.
Men couldn't care less. A dysfunctioning hand pump in the family is the problem of the lady. So they made mechanics. Those mechanics are making 20 to 25,000 rupees for themselves and the family by virtue of doing this and solving. So we need more and more models of self-help groups which can create these kind of opportunities. A lot of work remains to be done. Government policies are conducive, but the communities have to support more.
Very true. I mean, financial empowerment is a must. When we talk about women empowerment, it cannot happen without financial empowerment. And as you said,
and asset ownership.
Exactly, because a signature, if my father would ask me to write,
it's happening. Let's
just transfer, my brother would say, I would easily do that. Yeah.
Everywhere it's happening.
So that's very much there.
Yeah.
So what is the mindset of boys today? We are in a patriarchal society. It's still going on and it would go on for long. We can't see that ending anyway somewhere near. So when you interact with young boys, how do they take women empowerment? What is their stand on women issues?
I think the one problem that I see with the youth today is that they process a lot of information, but their views on critical matters are not formed very easily. So that conviction, like I said, that conviction and the grit that you need, this is the problem, this is how we need to solve. We need more and more spine in the men. and the equivalent amount of spine among the girls.
And I think a lot of dialogue needs to happen, because these kind of conversations are not happening with both the genders, so that has to happen.
Because the tendency to go back to the cocoon of family and be comfortable
Yes.
Has never allowed youth to flourish in any time and age.
Very true, very true.
कहते हैं ना, रगों में दौड़ते फिरने के हम नहीं कायल, जो आँख ही से न टपके तो वो लहू क्या है. तो वो यूथ में जब तक ये फीलिंग नहीं है रिबेलियन की, of questioning the status quo, if every male child in rural India stands to question his father and mother on the patriarchy, problem is solved.
Problem is solved.
Issue is it doesn't get done that.
What is the message that you would like to give to young boys and girls and society as a whole? Because we all, right now a lot of talks are happening on Ram Rajya. We want a Ram Rajya wala India. We want to get back to that era wherein women are respected. Women take their choices. They make their choices. If we read the Ramayana also, Sita Mata had a choice. She made her decision, be it crossing the Lakshman Rekha or be it going to the forest. It was she who took her decision and nobody could object to that. So what is it that you would like to say on that?
See, Sita's life story is the interplay of Raman and Ram in her life.
Right. Right.
So, and she to me looks like a passive receiver of the fate that is bestowed upon her, not by her choices, but by the men around. Had Ram not drawn the Lakshman Rekha, would she be safer? Had Ravan not picked her up, would she be safer? And had Ram not shunned her, would she be safer? So, it's a very complex question to ask. The fact is that Ramayana is a beautifully written epic, and it not only captures the strength of your character, it also addresses the human follies and the outcomes of those follies.
Very true.
We are humans. We are likely to make mistakes. But if you were to ask me the face of women empowerment and how long the road is, the one name that comes to my mind is Malala Yousafzai. So take a bullet on your temple. Do what you have to do. Stand up and become the ambassador of the cause for which you wish.
Right.
You should have died, but you came out alive, and now you're champion of a cause. That was a cause of your near-death experience. That kind of defying of fear, limitations, biases, prejudices, we need more and more and more of it.
Beautiful. Very nicely summed up. We could not have a better example than her, because she faced it and now she's the role model for so many women, not just in her region but across the globe. So beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on women empowerment. And you yourself is a role model. Seeing you, lot of women, lot of girls aspire to become heads of organizations. So we thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.